Last of Us 2! Well, I thought we were done with all this Last of Us 2 nonsense, but no, apparently it is still in the cards to talk about this game, at least for another week or so, right? Right? Is that about all we can squeeze out of it? Hello everyone, I am still waiting for the aliens to come and rescue me from crazy 2020. Becca Random 42, the one, the only, the original, your favorite YouTube consumer advocate, Harpy and Crispy Critters asks, Abby or Tiger Woods, who would win in a $2 super chat? Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Abby's a little bit more masculine, I want to say, right? Right, I think Abby's a little bit more masculine than Tiger Woods. Thank you so much. You know, they're gonna get me for something. Better be the jiggle cam than something else that they made up that I actually didn't do. Now, and you guys know what we're talking about. There, doggies, I love doggies. Anyway, The Last of Us 2, they can't even get their articles right. They can't even get a proper hit piece out. They can't even keep their stories straight. When you've got Paul Tassi on Forbes. Now, this one came out today. Why God of War is a 10 out of 10, but The Last of Us Part 2 is not. Now, he's calling out this whole perfect scores, because this game has been getting perfect score after perfect score after perfect score. Because in today's society, in today's day and age, anytime you give a game less than a 10 out of 10, when it has representation or diversity or representation, and now, is this actually even representation, I question, because I don't know if this character Abby that they're showing here is transgendered. Is she a natural born woman? Is she anything? Like, you've got the representation of gay characters, which is fine. I can talk about it. I'm the B in the alphabet here, so as the token person who's dived in between some girls' legs from time to time. Now, I can say that this really comes off like a bunch of queer baiting to me. It comes off like you're using the fact that you're marketing this as either a transgender person, or you're letting people assume that. What does Paul Tassi say on Forbes? Vinny from Brooklyn, if I saw pecs like that while giving some chick the 2-point conversion, my eggplant would immediately run for it. Yeah, it would just invert itself, wouldn't it, if you were met with somebody like Abby? If, you know, they're coming at you with, what is this, a hammer? Does she have a hammer in her hand? Is this where I make a please hammer don't hurt them joke? Oh, I know, that's bad. I deserve that one. That was a bad one. I'm sorry, I'm not proud of that joke. I should have not said it before it came out of my mouth. Game reviewing is a tricky business. Source something too high and you become part of the narrative that all games are only rated between 7 of 10 on a 10-point scale, which is more or less true. Score something too low and have everyone from fans and publishers yelling at you in public or in private. So that's why the answer, or many outlets, do away with scores altogether. We haven't done that here yet, so I thought I'd get a little bit into the nuances of what goes through my mind when I give a game a score. The truth is, there are no hard and fast rules. All of this is totally subjective. A game is only a 10 to me or a 6 to you, so I cannot say I am empirically right and you are wrong. And yet, someone who scores games and is on Metacritic, there are things I have to think about as someone who scores games and is on Metacritic. Correct me. Oh, there's some more Metacritic stuff we're going to talk about too. The Last of Us 2 has dozens of perfect scores on Metacritic. I gave it a 9.5, still extremely high, but not a 10. I would give God of War a 10 out of 10, however, so what's the difference? Why do I make that distinction? First of all, I think we have to recognize that there is literally no such thing as a perfect game. This is why you can read a review, and even if the author points out 1 or 2 things that bother him, you can still end up with a 10 at the end. This is why I usually look at games. I group my experiences into 3 main categories, though there are shades of nuance between them. Story, the plotting characters, writing and dialogue, and everything that feeds into the narrative of the game. Design, this usually means visuals. Again, a great looking game can be photorealistic or it can be a cool cartoony style. This can also include sound design and other aspects of building the game's fundamentals. Gameplay, this is where we separate game reviews from movie and TV shows. It's how we interact with the game and what makes a game a game. But the issue is that you have to make exceptions, and sometimes one category can overwhelm the others depending on your context. Every game or every situation is different. A good example would be Zelda Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is a 10 out of 10 game for me personally. It is a 0 out of 10 game for me because I played it for about 10 minutes and I couldn't stand it at all. I know, this is where, yeah. Get a Rebecca. But keep in mind, I like Mario Kart and stuff. I like those type of games a little more. I'm going to be playing Paper Mario probably. Probably not on my channel, but I'm going to be playing the crap out of it because I love those games. It's certainly essentially a variant on the plot of a Zelda game, and Nintendo games in general are not overly concerned with story in any capacity. Whether it's Mario Kart or Mario Kirby, DK, etc., sometimes they go into a story a bit more, Fire Emblem and Metroid, but not often. And yet, these are all great high-scoring games. How good Zelda's design and gameplay overwhelm any void of story that might be. Hence, that's how you could arrive at a 10 out of 10 game. Did he really just...
Proofread your shit!
Did he really just say... are overwhelm? They are overwhelmed. All right, so we're done reading his article now. Okay, I guess what I'm getting at with his article here is that you're going to, if you really, really love a story, you're going to kind of outscore little gameplay technicalities differently. If, let's say, it was a little bit boring, but you really, really love the story and you were blown away by the experience, sure, I get it. The game scores are subjective. And here's the thing. I got sent this about The Last of Us 2. We're going to talk a little bit about the Metacritic score, too. Now, the users are giving about a 4 out of 5, or 4.5, right? This is The Last Jedi all over again. It is in video games now. We're seeing a fan split. We're seeing a split in consumers who like the previous game and did not like this one. And when you actually go in and read some of these negative reviews here, now let's look. Let's look at the negatives. There's a lot more negative than positive. The other thing that was interesting about this is that you had people say that Metacritic, the score wasn't showing up on Metacritic here. Everybody's showing, yeah, it was showing up as a 0. And if you look through this tweet thread, no user score a couple days ago. They're showing a screenshot here. And when you go in, 0 user reviews, all positive, 100% positive, as well as people saying, yes, it came back. So it looks like it came right back. It just went down for a half an hour. So did they remove anything? Was it something fishy? I can't say. I'm not sure. What I can say is, according to some of these screenshots, and when you go into my Twitter thread here, you see a few screenshots where, yeah, they were gone. And you go into the archive, it looks like that they were removed at a certain timestamp here on June. And now this is just a screenshot. I can't verify if this is legit, if somebody didn't Photoshop this to me. But when you go in and you actually do read some of these reviews, let's actually read some of these. Here, I'm going to pull it up a little bigger so I can see them because I'm a blind person. It breaks my heart to write this, they say. The first one says, but I really did not expect such a poor story after all of these years of waiting. While there were a few genuinely good moments, the majority of game filled with plot holes. It just took elements of what worked from the first game without understanding what made them compelling. It seems like this game was done by another studio, but it's not. Oh boy, where to begin? If you were like me, you played The Last of Us Part 1 way back during its release on PS3. The game had stunning graphics, great sound, good gameplay, but the things that made it one of the best games on the platform was its beauty of the level design, and above that, the magnificent storyline involving 2 of its main characters with their struggles to survive. Wow, this is a long review. Fast forward to today and part 2 of this iconic game. Let's start with what it got right from the recipe of the old game. So it looks like no complaints on the graphics, sound, or let's see, the gameplay. This for the most part on par. Sadly, from here on out, it was downhill. So he likes all these elements. Storyline, I enjoyed the game for about 2.5 hours, and then it happens. Spoilers! Death is understandable in any game with an apocalyptic setting. It can be sad, but still elicit a positive experience for the player. Flashback to Final Fantasy VII. Yup! When Aerith meets the Grim Reaper with an 8-foot blade. I'm reading this wrong. Yeah, Flashback to Final Fantasy VII. Here we go. It was traumatic, yet it didn't leave a horribly bad aftertaste at the end of the game. The Last of Us 2, though, it felt unnecessarily rushed. Like someone couldn't wait to get rid of one of the characters. Then to make matters worse, you have to play as the character who ended such a beloved one from the game, from the first game. The theme of revenge is done relatively like any other game or movie before, and it doesn't really make the player feel much excitement to see what happens next. It starts becoming boring and predictable. At least, here we go. I forgot where I left off. At least until the end, where they throw you another curveball to ruin yet another character from the first game. You're left with a sense of what was the point in all of this. In the first game, you had a clear goal. The twists and turns reached it all, and they fit together nicely. Here we go. I gotta read that again. The twists and turns to reach it all fit together nicely until the end, where they also throw you a curveball to the story. But unlike the first, where there was a purpose to the actions that led to the end, in part 2, the player is left with a strong feeling to scream, what the fuck was the point in all this? The story is severely flawed. The ending leaves you with nothing, and worse, it tarnishes the legacy and choices made by the end of the first game. Exactly the same thing with Rise of Skywalker. Exactly the same thing time and time again. And you can keep reading through these critic scores, like the actual user score. And if that doesn't sound like the type of game that you want to play, and I know the spoilers are really, really bad because the game's already been out. But hey, you know what you can do? You can always go over to GameStop, and you know, if you are through with the game, you can get $22 back for store credit here. You can get a little bit of your money back. Store credit $20 or $22 for the pro value, right? You can get $20 out of the game store credit. What's the cash price? I wonder what the cash price is. They don't say. They just say the store credit. What is wrong with this company? Do they not understand that this technique, this destroying characters you have an attachment with, only serves the greater purpose of all of this stuff that's going on right now, where they are destroying people emotionally. They are going in and taking characters that you like from things, and they are ruining them on purpose. And we see it time and time again with Star Wars and Star Trek and all of these things. Every single time they do this, and what happens? They divide the fan base. They just continue to divide, and that's what we see everywhere in society. We see this in pop culture. We see this in politics ball. We see this in every aspect of everything, even things that should not have anything to do with that. All of a sudden, if you're on this side, you like this. If you're on that side, you don't. And they're clearly doing this for what reason? Just to divide us? Just to get a marketing point? Just for that? I mean, not only that, The Last of Us 2. Now I gotta pull up this Bounding into Comics article here. Now, The Last of Us 2 also had this severe double standard that Sony has been perpetuating. It's not just a Last of Us 2 thing, but in Sony, it has gotten so quote-unquote woke that I'm buying my Senran Kagura video games from Steam. I'm no longer buying them when I do buy them, or on Switch. I'm buying them on Switch when I can get a physical copy. I am no longer buying them because Sony has been censoring the jiggles. They've been censoring all of that stuff for so long. And they're even doing it in Japan. They're censoring the Abby scene in Japan. Here you go. You know what? Since it's censored, boom. So here you go. Here's the scene. And they're kissing and they make out. And in the regular scene, he rips her shirt off. Her raisins fly out. But in the Japanese version, it looks like, as shown, the Japanese version, and then skips to the scene that comes afterwards. So they just fade out. Oh, but we're upset. But we were upset because of the graphicness of it? Or no, we were just phobic of whatever reason. Sorry, when you have a character that looks like Abby, I'm going to assume it's a woman, but when you have to stop and question, is this a transgendered person? Is this something else? Then you're just queer baiting us. And you know what? Shame on you, naughty dog. Stop it. You're a bad dog. Scorpius Bob, thank you so much. $5 super sticker. I really, really appreciate it. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. Slavi Joe says, raisins. It's nudity, but small raisins. Okay, so they're saying this law in Japan. So here you go. Here's the thing. Yes, you can pixel out stuff. You can pixel it out for foreign markets. The Japanese, Galfer's Dog says the Japanese mistook it for a gay sex scene. I mean, there you go. There you go. There's your answer. There's your answer. So, shout out to Bounding Into Comics on this one. The now infamous sex scene in The Last of Us Part 2, which graphically depicts the first few moments of you-know-what between newcomers Abby and Owen, has been censored by the Japanese release of the game. You know the one where he spins her around and raw dogs her, goes in without even spitting on it first, and just dry dogs her right up the poop chute, because that's what it looks like because of the oddly placed positioning of it. And here's the other thing about this. I keep saying this time and time again. That is a scene from people, made by people who have never had consensual sex in their lives. They have no idea what they're doing. And of course, it's been censored. As documented by Censored Gaming, an account run across several social media platforms dedicated to cataloging various instances of censorship across the entirety of video game history. The awkward imitation of relations in The Last of Us Part 2 was censored in Japan due to the Japanese console rating system as it for rules forbidding certain explicit content. To abide by these regulations, the game fades to black not long after the characters begin kissing. When the existence of the in-game scene was revealed, Naughty Dog VP Last of Us Part 2 director Neil Druckmann promoted this scene as tasteful. Well, if it's so tasteful, why did they have to censor it? If it's so tasteful and doesn't actually show a lot and is perfectly safe for a console that, it censors out jiggle cams and, jiggly girls, boob jiggles, all that good stuff from Senran Kagura. I am a Senran Kagura fan. I like those video games. And when you have a console that has censored those, what do you expect? Oh, it's only okay for us to see it in the US. That's what it is. This particular instance of censorship is sadly quite ironic, considering Sony has made a company policy of censoring even the slightest of risque content in their Japanese games, only to have a pretentiously lauded scene of their own production censored upon its release in Japan. Is that Schadenfreude? I would say that might be a little bit of that. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section of the video I clipped from this. How much I'm going to leave in, who knows, but I just wanted to talk about that a little. I'm going back to my live chat. Don't you guys go anywhere.